US and Canada. And you know what we are going to do? We are going to do today, we are going to bring you into the mindset of your prospects and customers. So Tuesday is all about, let's figure out what's really going on behind the scenes. That's coming right up.
Yeah.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
Well, I really hope that video came across as a lot more smooth than it did for me, because one of the things when I was picking a place to stay up here in the Great White North was the fact that they had high speed internet, and I'm realizing high speed is just above dial up. But
Yeah, they can call anything high speed now. Yeah, as long as it doesn't make that.
Well, that's what I was waiting for when I logged on this morning. I was waiting for the. So everybody, welcome to another episode of Sales Chatter. We've got Greg Cornett with us today, my main man, Greg, to give us a little bit of an insight behind what is really going on in a customer's world. And I don't know if you guys see Greg frozen. Greg's frozen on my end, but again,
Greg's fine.
No, he was being a mannequin.
Yeah, Dan, it's your connection. Your connection's struggling over there, man.
That's okay. I'll just keep going, even if you guys freeze, because I'm understanding that I'm the only one that's having freezing issues. No one else. So perfect. Yeah, Greg, good morning, brother.
Good morning.
So, Greg, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Gary. So, Greg, we're really, really, really curious to see what
I've been dying.
What's going on in your world. I mean, I know we spoke to you mid-December. We're kind of at that point. We're almost 60 days later. What's happening in your markets? What's happening in your world? What are some of the kind of the newfound pressures? And what can you share with the audience to give salespeople a bird's eye view into what it is you go through, so you don't people calling you up saying, "Hey, how you doing today?" It's like, dude, you know what?
It was really interesting that when we came back after the holidays, it was almost like there was a sense that the calendar turned, all was good in the world, and we were going back to normal. No, we're not. And I would say that things are actually even more challenging now than they were at the end of the year.
Oh, geez.
So, we're having more issues, I would say, different kinds of delays at the ports. So instead of now, waiting for the vessels to berth, and it's more the vessels are discharging, they're putting the containers into closed areas, and then you go into a waiting, then trying to explain to people that closed areas are kind of like overflow parking at a stadium, and you're putting boxes there to get everybody on their way, but it doesn't mean you're going to be able to get access to them right away. So that's been a little bit more challenging. I read a report a couple of weeks ago that ocean vessel on time is coming in at about 5 to 10% on time right now. And if you think about that, we thought it was terrible in late fall when it was at about 30%, and it's further deteriorated. So I do not think it's for a lack of effort, but the biggest challenge that my organization is having, and I think probably most importers and most customers are having right now, is visibility. That your customers understand that there are issues, but they just want to know where their stuff is, and it's a real big challenge to give them not only not even an ETA that's reasonable, but to give them visibility to where is my shipment. That's the biggest challenge that we have right now. We're at this point, we're all accustomed to delays, and we're all accustomed to higher costs, so that sticker shock isn't there anymore. But it's just a feeling of helplessness on everybody's side about where is my product? When may I reasonably be able to get it? Because for me, it's just updating somebody. For my customer, it's updating his production lines and his warehouse about when can I plan for this coming in. So all of that is causing consternation through the supply chains. It's causing additional costs, additional effort, because nobody's operating on just in time in the last 2 years, but we would like to be able to operate on reasonably in time, and that's not happening either. So it's still a very big challenge. It's very frustrating for a number of people internally and externally to my organization. The big questions right now is, when are things going to get better? And my crystal ball cracked about 18 months ago. And I don't want to be, I don't want to hurt my business's operations by telling customers that I'm just throwing my hands up in the air and saying I don't know.
See,
Because that's not an option either. You need to give them something. So, do I think things are going to get better? Yes, but it's all on orders of magnitude, and it's all based on time. So, I think we will see some improvement through the late spring into the early summer. But what's the order of magnitude of it? And then we're going to get closer to the peak season, and what's that going to do to things? And anything can happen to change all this. I mean, if there's a geopolitical event that's going to happen in the next 6 months, that's going to change everything too. So I'm not in the forecasting business. We do the best that we can to be reasonable and to be as accurate as we can, because not giving an answer is not an answer. That's a long answer.
Greg,
no, that's a good answer,
Greg,
though.
it's a great answer. Now, do you think, so a couple of things. I hear you on the crystal ball. Mine broke 12 months or about 12 months ago, because I swore this was happening for six months and it was done. Originally I thought 6 weeks, but we all kind of thought that.
Yeah, we did.
Now we had John Brewer on, who is CKE, a couple of weeks back. And a couple of questions for you. So, A, do you think technology is the answer for visibility, or is it more human interaction? Saying, hey, Greg, just an FYI, this is what's going on. You might see on the website it says this. That's not the actual update, because people are behind updating. And the second question to you is, we were stunned when John said 60% of the issues he faces now, he didn't have 2 years ago. So not only does he have his regular, function and job to make things work, but 60% more challenges have been added to that, which are consuming his time. So let's take it one by one, because it's some pretty serious and important information that you're going to share here.
Okay. Oh yeah, absolutely.
So let me take the second question first, because I can remember that one most easily. Yes, at least 60% of the issues I deal with, I was not dealing with, I would say even 18 months ago. So on the second question about technology and visibility, I'll just put it this way. I work with an organization that is very technically advanced, has EDI capability, has API capability, works with a number of asset-based carriers that have those capacities. I spend 4 to 5 hours a day taking their information through 3 or 4 different sources and consolidating them into one spreadsheet. So going old school and using a spreadsheet for my organization to be able to basically create milestones and updates, because they can't trust the technology and they need somebody to interpret the technology. And that wasn't the intent when we started using the provider, but that is what is necessary for our business right now. And so I think on a scope of latitude, I have probably 5 people doing what I had intended on technology doing right now. And it's tying people up. Now when you take that in order of magnitude, that I said that I'm doing at least 50 to 60% more than I was doing before, I don't think it's just me. I think it's my organization. It's the providers that I work with. I'll use an example as the LTL carriers. The LTL carriers, I'm sure the terminals weren't having to spend as much time going through tracking and tracing orders as they are right now, but they're having to, because the technology is just not working the way it was supposed to. And I don't think it's a technology failure. I think it's just that it needs to be interpreted differently, and it needs a human to interpret it about what it actually means. So there is a lot of extra work going in from many people in the supply chain, a lot of time and effort that we're using. And I don't think it's waste work because it's what is needed right now to move freight and to accomplish the goals. So we're all doing what we need to do and intervening. Um, and it's necessary work, but it is extra work that we're all putting in right now. So, for example, um, for this group, what I would say is, I don't have any time to have any discussions with you as a salesperson, and I don't have any discussion to talk about onboarding new carriers or bringing on new providers because I don't have the time to do it. And that's one of the trickle down effects that is within the supply chain also. So it's very frustrating. I know it's frustrating on the sales side for people, but I just don't have the time to do it because of all those other things that I'm doing right now.
That was going to be that was going to be the big question is, so how does one get your attention today, Greg? Like, how does one even start? So let me frame
Can they?
it like
I
this.
guess is even the better question. Can they? I mean,
Is it
right
even
now
a
with how crazy it is, can they?
Yeah, start where they can say, hey, I know you're going through a ton of shit. I just want to introduce myself and start the conversation. So when your time frees up, maybe we can have a more in-depth conversation.
Very valid question too, because I'll use an example. I'm really frustrated with one of my carriers right now, and it's one of my Canadian carriers. They're taking 3 weeks to get it to the U.S. border, and I get it, and I understand why. You know, there's problems on the west coast of Canada with, ongoing with floods and mudslides, and there's COVID out there, and there's weather in Canada in general. But I can't live with taking 3 weeks to get to the border. I mean, it doesn't work. Well, okay, Greg, you need to replace that carrier. Okay, so I have time right now to be going out and researching and find a carrier that, one, can just give me capacity. Number two, is going to do it at a reasonable cost, and three, is going to do it consistently. So it is a big challenge, and I rely on my partners to be able to provide me information on that, but I don't have time to do an in-depth review with you because it's going to be almost like I find you and do your job and make my pain go away. So
yeah.
Now I don't.
Well, with onboarding, there's always extra work for you. Like
Always.
with onboarding a new supplier, there's always more work that goes into it for you. Now, Greg, are you talking like from the port of BC to your facility?
No, I'm talking about from my facility to a U.S. border cross point.
Got it. Okay. I can hook you up after the show. Yeah, that's
a long time.
We'll see what we can do. But DJ Greg brings up a very valid point, right? Because it's like 3 weeks is totally uncalled for. I don't believe, no matter what's going on out there, weather and everything, especially because it's after the mudslides, knowing where
there's
Greg's
something
facility
else.
is. There's something else going on, capacity. Maybe it's a crunch. Maybe it's sitting in, getting loads going to places that never gone before, chasing the buck, whatever the case may be. But I also see Greg's point, right? I mean, holy crap! Onboarding is not a simple process. It's invoicing. It's filling out credit apps. It's having them understand how each individual facility works. Greg, what are some of the things that a supplier can come to you and say, okay, you know what, you have this problem, and I apologize because I think I'm setting you up for a ton of phone calls when this show's done.
Oh boy, but, I know we are really targeting his issue. Hey, I can fix that problem. That problem.
We already got Ryan. 3 weeks, call me, Greg. LOL. But it's Ryan's all over it, of course, right? Like Ryan is now. Ryan says something.
Ryan, you were right on cue. No.
Right on cue. But Ryan says something: detach from the outcome is the motto, and unfortunately, Greg, you can't detach from the outcome because the outcome is exactly what you need. It's interesting because you need fresh blood, for lack of a better term, in the mix, but your time is so consumed that fresh blood will be hard for you to reserve time.
And so you really and so what I get from that is somebody really has to come out of the gate shining and showing that they're going to bring and fix your problem. And they have to have the answers right away, and it's got to be quick, it's got to be to the point, and it's got to be direct. But I mean that's the only way to really I think in your situation it's just you got to weed through, you got to 8 mile it, but for in Dan's terms, you got to 8 mile it to bring it to Greg or somebody. Obviously, a customer in his position, you got to 8 mile it. You really just got to be upfront, and you got to now more than ever stand behind what you say. If you say you can do it, you better fucking do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lisa says do your homework too, 100% before talking to you, 100%. You know, and that's you know, Lisa, that's the reason why we have customers on this show, because this is a big chance to do homework. Because if Greg's going through this issue, there's other people going through this issue, and
absolutely,
you know, so Greg, let me ask you this, and I'm trying not to ask you. I mean, I'm trying to ask you the hard questions to give the real answers to people because I think everybody really wants real, you know, like raw answers because there's this perspective in a lot of the markets where it's like if you have capacity, you're going to have the freight, but then you talk about you where it's like, okay, you have capacity, but where do I find the time to set you up properly? Because in the end, just us as logistics companies, as well as yourself, the setup creates success. If we can't set you up properly, and you know what, we set you up and we start moving freight and it's great. You take, 4 days, 5 days to get to the border, but the invoicing is a complete mess. Now you've got stacks of invoicing that you have, like, you're just robbing Peter to pay Paul, right?
Yeah.
So like for you, Greg, if you can share with people, like when you're onboarding a new supplier, how much time does that really take out of your day from A to Z? And I'm talking, bringing them in to training them, to getting them introduced to everyone, and like really where they can start moving more freight for you.
And to add to Greg, before you answer that, to add to that too, is there anything that a new supplier can do to speed up that process, or say, like, here's my little cheat sheet stack. Here you go, Greg. Is this going to help everything?
We talked about this on the last call, and I know, I can be a little challenging to approach as a potential carrier, but it's the way that I am, and I was a carrier, and so I'm speaking from my experience that
exactly.
We on our last call we talked about what's the correct way to approach Greg, and sending me an email that every day it says I got trucks, that's going right to the junk folder. I don't need that, and I can be more challenging that if, for example, if you have somebody that I've worked with before that you know about or that I have experience with, it's going to be a little bit easier. So, for example, anybody that comes to me and says, "Hey, I know Dan," or Dan's referring them, yeah, I trust Dan. I've developed that over 5 years. That's your end. So that's just the top level. So, what do I want from a supplier? Well, it really depends on how I'm doing the onboarding. So, without getting into trade secrets or names, when I'm using with my present provider, they're really taking care of all that onboarding. They're a 3PL. That's their job. And so all I care is, I don't care about how they're making the cake. I just want to know when I'm going to be able to eat it and go. And I've been pretty disappointed in how long that's been taking. So, I was just talking about my border cross issue. We've been talking about that for 2 months, and that's too long to resolve the issue for me. So that's an issue. When I think about the future and how I may do things, then I'm dealing with the carriers directly. So, number one, what's my number one pain point right now? My number one pain point is visibility. So what we want to talk about is making sure about how are you going to be connected with me to show me where my stuff is, and to get that resolved as quickly as possible. So that's EDI, and that's our technical groups talking together. Number two, what's my biggest point? Pain point. Well, to Dan's point, you've done the work, and I want to pay you. And I really only want one invoice. I don't want you sending me an invoice and then sending me a rebill in about 3 weeks because you had a lift gate or something else on it. I want one complete invoice so I don't have to go through the invoices and spend all the extra time going back and forth. So I want invoice accuracy. And number three, most importantly, what keeps you there is do what you say what you do. And so if you're going to commit to, at this point, 90% on time delivery and pre-notification, then do it, because I'm probably going to give you 6 months, but if you don't do it in 6 months, I'm never coming back to you again. So it is a very difficult situation. I think in a lot of respects, I'm probably more amenable working with the carriers because, again, I've been there. But at the same time, you have to make it as painless as possible for me. And you have to lay it out in front of me and say, I'll give you the roadmap, but tell me how you're going to do it and meet your timelines, because I don't have time to babysit you and I just need it to work.
Okay. That's fully understood. I mean, I think everybody can deal with that. Now, here's the thing, and Ryan brings up a great point. So Greg says, if you want to do business with Greg, you must exceed his expectation.
Absolutely.
Greg, you and Jeff go way back. So, but Ryan brings up something that I'd like to talk about. He says, we talk about challenges.
Agreed.
What has gone right for you this year, Greg?
Yes.
Look at Ryan. The cup's always half full, man. and DJ. Chicklet
Young
DJ
Jedi
over here. He's always about the positivity.
I got you.
There's a popular saying that's been out there for the while that hope is not a plan. I get it, but at the same time, you need to let people know that that we're working on things and we're trying to make things better. So, do I feel more positive about the future than I did 6 months ago? Yes, because I do see an end game coming here. I'm not so sure it's going to be in 2022, but I do feel like the wheels are moving in the right direction. They're not going fast enough for anybody, but I do feel like progress is happening. And I have a number of projects that I'm working in within the organization that I have more traction now than I had in the past. So it's kind of, if we weren't in the situation all gummed up like we have been for the last 24 months, we probably wouldn't be even having the discussions internally. But now, because we are, it's kind of opening the doors to do things that, hey, these are things that I've always wanted to do and are the right things for the organization, and they're going to cost money. But at this time, we're spending a lot of money doing other things. I feel like I'm having more traction on that. It's going to be tough, and they're tough sells within my organization because, this is the first organization I've ever been at that I didn't have a high-performing logistics department, and that's not arrogance. It's just that I've been in those opportunities. But for the last 24 months, I've been feeling like I'm afloat because I'm not saving the company any money. I'm delivering a crummy result to our customers, and it's tough. But I do feel hopeful that what we're going to be doing as an organization the next 12 months is going to make our business stronger when we come out of this. And I do see the industry not ground to a halt at this time, but working progressively towards things. So to Ryan's question about what has gone right for me this year, I would say that there's nothing really going right, at least to the extent that I want to, but it is going in the right direction. And
like that.
And I am feeling good about that.
What? And I'm glad you brought that up, Greg. So some of the changes that obviously you guys are having to do on your end, do you think they're Band-Aid changes? Like, so once this all clears up, do you think they might disappear? Or do you think they're actually helping to kind of maybe this whole event showed us certain things in the supply chain that is like, okay, well, we changed this, and this is actually we should have changed this a long time ago. Is there any situation that happened like that for you guys so far?
I'm actually going to add to that, Greg. While you're talking about that, can you please address when COVID hit? Was it Band-Aids, like being reactive to the supply chain, and now you're looking to be proactive? Is it a mental shift and a physical shift in the company? And has the last 2 years really been just, okay, we need to survive. We just need to survive this. So put a Band-Aid on this. And DJ, I think that's a friggin' awesome question, brother. Cause it
Thank you.
It is. I'll give one example that I think I can. So, as an organization, when we provide quotes to customers, it's delivered freight. So we're paying all the transportation to them door to door. One in our supply chain spans from Asia to North America. So one big change that we've worked through as an organization is allowing, as an exception, for our customers to route heavyweight air shipments from Asia to North America. And we didn't do it before because we wanted to protect our supplier. We also wanted to protect our purchase price from the supplier versus the sale price. But I'll say my department, we created a process that we would enable a customer to route their own air freight while we would still doing certain things, protect our supplier name, protect our purchase price through different processes. But if our customer was a really big customer and they were able to get a lower air freight price, to give them the ability to do that. So that's an example of a Band-Aid that we had to put in because of COVID, that process is going to hold and it's going to continue through. So we've had a number of those. There's a number of, I always believe simpler is better. And sometimes I think we're going to a level of granularity that just doesn't matter. So, do you really need to know that it left the LTL terminal today, or do you just need to know that it's going to deliver to you sometime tomorrow? So some of those things we're going to have to just, it's a Band-Aid that we're doing right now, and we're going to go back to the technology, but there are a number of other things that we've done that are going to be long-term processes that I think are going to make us a better organization that we've had to evolve based upon the environment.
So do you think the last kind of 2 years you've been reactive to markets and now you're switching to a proactive mindset where you're going to set yourself up for the coming, call it, decade?
Yeah. That's
So
great, yeah.
yes, we have totally been reactive. There has been very little strategic planning in my world, and not necessarily in our manufacturing side or our marketing side, but I have been very reactive. Other parts of we are doing things organizationally that are being proactive and being strategic, and let's just call it strategic and tactical.
Yep.
There are a number of things that we're doing strategically. I would say that coming into this year, I have 4 or 5 strategic plans that I'm working on right now, which are 4 or 5 more than I was working on last year. So are we moving in that direction? Yes, we are. And it's tight. I mean, I don't have the time to do it, and I have to put trust in my suppliers to enable me to do that. But that is definitely the direction we're going. So I do, again, back to Ryan's initial question and to your question, yeah, I do think we are moving forward.
Good.
So we got 2 more questions,
Yeah.
and hopefully we get this in under the time period. But
Yeah.
Lisa says, can you offload that work to representatives with your supplier that provide the information you need? And I guess Lisa was talking about when you let the customers pick up.
I would say I'm doing the work because they're not.
Okay.
So it would be really good if they did it, is what she's saying. It's exactly what he's saying.
I'm doing it because they get efforts.
Here's a big question, and I think and I've been sharing the answer that I believe based on some conversations. Is your upper management shocked at when your supply chain goes south, call it, how much it can cost?
They were, now they're numb.
That is such a great
because
question.
now it's been
now
a little while.
But it was a 6-month lag, because at the end of 20, I was saying this was coming, and we didn't react to it as an organization until the middle of 21.
Okay, so again, because you were looking at being proactive, the company was being reactive, kind of stayed steadfast. Now 6 months have gone by, and you're already in. You're in the polar vortex.
Well, yeah, I work with a product that has very low margins, and so Nobody wanted to react to those customers to say that, hey, our freight costs have tripled until 6 months in, it was very actual. We just couldn't support it anymore. So I think as an organization, my upper level management did a good job and tried to hold back as long as possible to keep the business afloat. But we definitely, as an organization, took on a lot of extra costs that we hadn't had before.
I was sitting speaking. I forget. A buddy of mine is at Sherwin-Williams. And I was asking him, I'm like, listen, your supply chain, I mean, you think of Sherwin-Williams globally. He goes, Dan, you wouldn't believe the cost increase. He goes, we've been out to our customers in the past 12 months 4 times for price increases. He goes, but even more, what we've done is we actually sanitized our customer list. He goes, we got rid of customers that weren't profitable. He goes, Sherwin's number one focus for 2022 is profitability. What's your number one focus for 2022, Greg?
Great ending question.
I'm going to say stabilization. So it's just do what we say what we do. I use that one again. So, it's like, this is an old term, but I'm old. The fingernails on the blackboard. So the fingernails on the blackboard are when people say to me,
yeah.
When they say,
I just got that. I got that feeling.
when someone says to me, it is what it is. I mean, as a carrier, by the way, don't ever say that to me.
No.
Yeah,
if you guys are saying that, don't do it.
You're basically punting on me and saying that, hey, I can't do anything. I don't want to hear that. So my organization, what we're looking at is we know what the constraints are in the supply chain. And so if we tell you what our lead time is, we want to deliver at that lead time. And that also goes to the cost being a little bit more predictable too. So for us, it's stabilization and it's retaining the business we have. We're not kicking customers out of the boat because they're not profitable. That's not how we run the organization. But we need to be more consistent, repeatable result. Jeff lived through that mantra like I did about a consistent, repeatable result. That's my mantra with my team, and that's what our goal is this year.
Awesome. DJ, what quote do you have to take us out today? Because it better, that was a stellar fire episode. We're gonna need to fire.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ryan, for all the comments and questions. Greg, man, I love having you on. Guys, this is like the ideal customer profile. If you're looking for a customer profile, Greg is it. He knows what he's talking about. You got to bring your shit, know what you're saying. But if you bring it and you can help him, he's your customer. And this is amazing. Thank you for coming on. Follow us and like us below. You can see us on our Sales Chatter Live YouTube channel. Also have our LinkedIn's on there as well. Please reach out, American Logistics, Centurion Trucking, to Daman. Amazing guy. We're going to have him on this week. Actually, he's on Thursday, right?
He's on Thursday. Yeah, we got Data Day Wednesday with Dean. We got Thursday. We got wins and losses Friday. Man, we got some serious
going to be awesome
this week. Brother.
So I found it's so crazy. I never read a lot of Mark Twain's quotes, but I figured this is a great one for today. I fell in love with a lot of his quotes yesterday, but this one, good decisions come from experience. Experience comes from making bad decisions. Listen, it's okay to make bad decisions. Just you got to learn from them.
Like Rico says, you can make a bad choice. Just the very next choice better be a better one.
That's
Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.